Want to make a difference in geographic fields? Volunteer with the North Star of GIS and help build a racially just geography for a racially just world. Sign up now at northstarofgis.org/volunteer.
Be Black. Be bold. Be innovative. Show the world equitable geo.
We're coming together as a collective to celebrate people of African descent, the diaspora, and talking about geospatial equity and justice.
You're listening to the North Star Gaze, a podcast with intimate stories from geo luminaries. Welcome to today's episode of North Star Gaze. We are excited to have Mr. Biyi Fafunmi as our guest today. He is joining us from the National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria. I've been following with great interest both the planned census, the gap between the 2006 census and what happened in 2023. We know that you have an illustrious background and all the work that you've been doing with the National Bureau of Statistics, but do me a favor and introduce yourself to our audience, please.
Okay, thank you for having me this evening. My name is Biyi Fafunmi, and I work with National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria, and I started my career in National Bureau of Statistics as the head of a research and policy analysis unit in the office of the Chief Executive of the Station General, where I later moved to head the data management division in Information and Communication Technology Department. GIS unit is located. After that, I was moved to Agric and Business Enterprises Department as the director, where I retired. And by my educational background, I had my first degree in statistics and also postgraduate degree in computer science and a master degree in geographical information system. So I've worked with the MBS for 32 years, and I just retired this month as the director of Agric and Business Enterprises Department. Started the GIS application with the National Bureau of Statistics when I noticed that data that we are producing location-based, and the trend all over the world is to integrate statistics with GIS. And that has been my driving force and what motivated me into introducing the GIS in National Bureau of Statistics.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. That is such a formidable background. And I'm clear about why we wanted to speak to you. Why is it important for you to speak to the North Star Gaze audience?
For me, it is very important to speak with you because we are looking forward to learn from you and also to share my experience in the use of GIS in National Bureau of Statistics and other area of GIS application for data management, decision making, and several other areas where GIS being applied. So I'm hoping that by sharing my view and experience with you, it will give me a wider opportunity of people knowing what we are doing in National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria with the use of GIS and our data production. That is very important to me.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. And I think one of the things that has struck me is how you have such a powerful combination, which is something I think I would have done if I had an option of getting like a view into an hourglass and seeing how I'd want my career to evolve. You've talked about statistics, you've talked about computer science, you've talked about GIS. Those are like the three most powerful combination of components. And I'm saying that from a career perspective, because I think there's a big gap between what GIS professionals are taught and what actually goes on in computer science. So I think there's a bridge there that needs to be bridged. And so I'm so fascinated by your combination and how powerful it is. I'm curious on and congratulations on your retirement. And I want us to look back into your journey in introducing GIS at the Bureau of Statistics. And I'm just curious on how your role evolved over time and also how you think GIS is going to evolve and your role in the future as you're leaving. What does that look like in terms of if someone was to step into your shoes?
Okay. Thank you for that very important question. From my introduction, I said what motivated me into introducing GIS in MBS is I noticed that for a National Statistics Office, it is very important for us to have a reliable, timely data. And if we don't have data that is of high quality, then for me, I think we are not working. And imbibing in technology is very key to me for us to achieve that. And when the issue around integrating statistics and GIS came up through the UN system, UNGGDIM, so I quickly introduced that to call the attention of the office to that. And for us to move from manual way of data collection or data production into digital way, there's no way we can do without GIS. I want to give you an example. Before now, we normally use a paper-based enumeration area for data collection, which I noticed that using that introduced a lot of errors. But I later found out that if we can digitize this and put this on a device, then it will improve on our data quality. And that is what motivated me from data collection. Then also, I noticed that presenting data in the old way of traditional way, row and column, modern visualization form, it helps users to understand your data. So these are areas that ginger my introduction of GIS, and I've been trying to also build capacity on my subordinates so that when I leave, then they will be able to take up this responsibility. So on regular basis, we conduct a training to build the capacity of young ones through the help and the assistance from development partners and also GIS providers. ESRI has done a lot for us through capacity building. Then distributors in the country has also to invite us to some of the capacity building or workshop where we can expose our staff to what is going on in the GIS environment to just get them understanding. And many of them are looking forward to progress in that direction of building their future career in the GIS. This has been what I've tried to do so that when I leave, I will have something to leave behind as a legacy.
I love that. I love the way you are thinking about this. Your journey sounds like it was very intentional, right? Many of the people that work in GIS got here almost by accident, but it sounds like you were very purposeful in going down this route into studying GIS. But what was the very beginning like? So was it a class you took? Was it some data that you were looking for? Or was it once you were at NBS trying to make that transition? What was your initial involvement with the GIS technology?
Yeah, my initial involvement in GIS technology started with when former National Bureau of Statistics was merged with the then Federal Office of Statistics. And I was in the National Data Bank where technology was driving almost all our process. But coming to FOS, which is almost a traditional way of data collection, the then Surgeon General just called on me because he knows that I have interest in the technology. And he spoke with me and said, how can we improve the system? And we sent enumerators to the field for data collection. And when they came back and we are trying to process the data, I saw a lot of errors in what they are submitting. And I also noticed that going through this process, before we finally get the final results of this exercise, the data might become obsolete. So I was thinking of how do we cut the time so that the data will not be obsolete? How can we improve on the quality of data? How can we also make things easier for enumerators? And most importantly, to monitor them during the data collection. So this idea of first getting the digital enumeration area came into my mind. And I was using my knowledge from my BSc, the MSc in GIS to convert the paper EA, enumeration area map, into digital one. And when I was able to complete a certain number of states, and when I gave that to the enumerators, I found out that the quality of data obtained from those states are more higher than that of the state where paper questionnaire was used.
What an extraordinary vision. That's fantastic.
I'm curious, government normally has the biggest potential when it comes to being the biggest technology adopters because of how structures are and serving communities and the entire public, right? And so I'm curious from your perspective, looking back at the years you've worked at the Bureau, some of the challenges you faced when it comes to integrating GIS into your statistical tools. What did that look like? What are the challenges you faced, if any, when you're trying to bring this into the Bureau?
Thank you for that question. When I was introducing GIS to the Bureau, GIS was relatively new. And I can tell you that with more than 1,000 in the Bureau, I was the only person with GIS knowledge. So, and when you are introducing a new technology, you always find resistance because not that they don't want it, but because maybe they don't understand and they might be fearing that, oh, this technology want to take some of their responsibility away from them. So I first find that challenge of how do I make people understand that this technology is for you to improve on what you are doing and also to enhance your work. So that was the first challenge that I faced. Then the other challenge is availability of data. I need to get data for my GIS analysis at the National Statistics Office. You need data from various agencies, sector by sector, but you find out that data that are available in those agencies are not in the right format that you can use for your analysis or to be integrated into your GIS application. So this is another challenge that I face. Then costs of acquiring GIS licenses is also a serious one that we are facing because I wanted to start small and I demanded that we should have full licenses for 5 users so that I can use that to train or build the capacity when they hear the cost in dollars. So the office was scared, and but thanks to Esri, then the evaluation copy was made available so that we can use for 3 months then, and that was an advantage for me to. Thereafter, I said that is not sustainable. We need to have licenses. And again, even for me, at times I will need some technical support to get that technical support from others that are more knowledgeable than I because I was also coming up. So you find it very difficult. So these are some of the challenges that I faced initially when I was introducing my agency.
I'm so happy you mentioned evaluation licenses. I think we've all survived on trial licenses and evaluation licenses because the costs. And then you put in your local currency when you're converting. It's just, oh my God, I will go with the trial version. And so that's very relatable. Erica, back to you.
Okay, thank you. So you got your training, but how are other young professionals in Nigeria getting trained on GIS, and what can we do to help support that?
Yeah, I think GIS is becoming more interesting and known to young professionals because of the importance of GIS in every sector now. There's the need for GIS experts to be there to help them do some geospatial analysis. And the availability of this GIS community free online training by S3 has really helped young professionals. Within the country, some GIS providers are also organizing competition where the young ones are encouraged to participate and to showcase what they can do. And that is a kind of a motivation to them to make sure that we encourage them to build professional career in GIS. So, and thank God now that we have some open source GIS application that they can use to do a lot of work. But when they want to do things that are more that ArcGIS or ArcMap and others would do. That is when they have a challenge. But I think open source application, it encourages young professionals to at least do a certain level of geospatial analysis, and that is an encouragement to the young ones.
When it comes to the ecosystem here, I know how different it is in the African continents, where we really thrive on distributors, like you mentioned Sambus. And I'm curious on your interaction with the wider GIS ecosystem and what you think the role of distributors in this region is, and how does that impact your work, for example, and the uptake of GIS for users like us, for NBS or any other organizations?
Yeah, for me, the distributors are really, I can give you an instance of when we late opportunity of acquiring 5 licenses, and after the expiration of the 3 years, and we could not pay for the renewal of the license, the distributor came and helped us to understand that we can speak to S3 and through some of their program, give us some discount. And they are the one that did that connection. And we enjoyed that for very significant deduction. And there was even a time that during COVID, when we really needed this tool to build our data hub. So they are the one that connect all between NBS and SC, and then we were able to develop the data hub and also giving some training to NBS staff, and you are able to develop the data hub and also make that tool available to other users to monitor the spread and the impact of COVID within the Nigeria. So they are really helpful. And let me also mention this. I had opportunity of participating on the S3 award. It was through the distributor that I was aware of that, and I put in my competition, and I was given an award. I got that award for NBS when I put in my own story about the use of GIS in NGO, and it was among the several other countries I was given the award. And also through the distributor, I was also given a user award personally. And these are some of the things that the distributor do to motivate us and to encourage us and to help.
Thank you for that. You've already partially answered the question because of the work that you're doing already. I often ask our guests, how can GIS be used in your country to make your country better, make the continent better, and make the world a better place? What is your thought about that?
Yeah, my thought on that is that GIS is becoming one of the strongest tools for data management. GIS provides a powerful tool for data analysis and data visualization. And it's also a powerful tool to integrate different data together, which makes decision making more easier and also help users or individual to understand data better. And with that, policymakers will be very careful on what they are doing. And also, it's also a tool for citizens to also monitor what government is doing. And with that, it will also help us to manage the little resources that is available by government to take care of the citizen. GIS can help us improve environment and make the world a better place, because we can monitor everything that is going on within the space where we occupy.
Thank you so much. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about your years at the Bureau and how rich your experience has been over the years. I feel like you've been in a real battleground in getting government to actually adopt GIS. And so I'm curious, if you had to pick your single biggest GIS breakthrough in your entire 32-year journey, what would that be and why?
Yeah, I have a lot, but the one I will pick as the most achievement is breaking the jinx of time of data release, because before the introduction of the GIS, for data collection and production. As I mentioned earlier, data produced maybe in January will not be readily available for use until around June. And because of the introduction of a GIS, the digital enumeration area being able to be embedded into our data collection tool, I also use the same thing to divide the entire country into strata for business establishment survey, a census. So we have what we call the National Business Sample Census, which before we'll just go into the sheet and be looking for where businesses are. But with the use of a satellite imagery, so you can see where the business are, then do your frame for data collection, and then you send your enumerator data collection. Another one that looks like that is the area frame construction. That is on agricultural statistics. Before now, what you normally do is that you do a sample selection. We can say that, okay, you are selecting 20,000 enumeration area in the entire country, and you are selecting 2020 from each local government, not minding whether there is agricultural activities in those local government. But you do area frame construction. So you can just look at the satellite imagery and see where agriculture is of high intensity, medium intensity, low intensity, and where agriculture is not even taking place. And you can cut those area into smaller strata and select proportion that you think that will give you data. And when we do that, we found out that the quality of data that we have, the one that you normally do using manual way of selection. So this, some of the, and lastly, please allow me, the COVID-19 data hub is one other great achievement that I think I need to talk about.
Congratulations on that. Those are milestones. Those are huge milestones. And so congratulations on being able to achieve that at the Bureau.
Yes. So, Biyi, I'm going to ask you a question in keeping with our theme for this year. And I can't believe we haven't asked this way in our previous interviews. I happen to have been in Abuja when I saw the Black Panther movie, and I remember it just blew my mind completely. But I'd like for you to think about what an Afrofuturistic utopia might look like. We are in times right now, both here in the US and I would say globally, which are far from utopia. But what do you think an Afrofuturistic utopia might look like?
My thought on that is that I believe that, yes, we are Africa and we have a lot of things to show the world, and using technology, we should be able to let the world know that these fantastic things that are available in Africa, we have culture, we have food, we have the way we do things, which the other part of the world might want to learn from. So, and if we did not showcase that, the Black community, or let me say the Africa, will still be seen as the way we have been represented. So for me, I want us to imbibe in the technology to make sure that we do the right thing, we improve on our governance, we showcase what we are good in, and also make sure that the dark side that the other part of the world seen in Africa are not actually what it is. So that is what I want to say.
Amen for that. When I tell people about what I experienced in Nigeria, it is so different from what they imagine Nigeria is or was. And go, you guys are crazy if you don't understand that this is a modern country with extraordinary opportunities, extraordinary people. So amen to you for dispelling those misinformations about the country and the continent.
Biyi, what would you say are the most underappreciated aspects of your work at the Bureau, or as a person who's been in the GIS space for this long? What would you say are the most underappreciated aspects of your work?
To me, I don't think there is any aspect of my work that is not appreciated. That's the truth. Because it's just that they don't understand what I was telling them, and I won't be offended because they don't have that knowledge, what I was telling them.
Invest in racial equity in geography. Your donation to the North Star GIS fuels scholarships, mentorship, community-driven initiatives, and more. Give today at northstargis.org/donate.
Fantastic. I love that response. I love that you are appreciated for what you brought to NBS. Now that you are nearing the conclusion of your time at NBS and passing on a legacy to others, what are the emerging tech trends that you're excited about? And how do you envision these trends shaping the mapping and policies and global conversations that your mentees will be having?
Yeah, on that, I want NBS to continue to appreciate the power of GIS and also understand the technology that is available for them to improve on their data production. Now we have AI available, we have Internet of Things, we have machine learning, we have all these 3D that can make improvement on whatever data that we are producing. Anything that will make us to move forward or to improve of where I'm leaving them. So I want NBS to continue to support that and make use of those technology to better improve on the data that they are producing.
We always ask guests some of the things that stand out in their work. And as you're speaking, I'm just thinking of the kind of data you handle at the Bureau of Statistics, the sensitivity of the data. You've talked about the quality of the data. And so I'm curious from your perspective, when someone says, this is GIS done right, what would that mean to you from a, Bureau standpoint or from Biyi's standpoint?
Yeah, for me, GIS has helped us to know the truth and to show the truth. What I mean by saying that is that now you cannot produce data that is of low quality and you say is of high quality if you are using GIS. Why I'm saying that is that before the GIS, what we normally have is a generator data. You have row and columns data presented. And it will be difficult for a country like Nigeria where we have, take for example, if you are looking at states, you have 36 plus FCT and you have variables, maybe about 10 variables that you want to compare. So you have to be scrolling from up and down if you want to compare one or two states and see what is happening there. But with GIS, you can actually pinpoint to a particular indicator, and that will show exactly what it is. And also in the area addressing issue that has to do with flooding, disaster, and so on and so forth. So the GIS has helped us to be able to do that. In Nigeria, for example, now, where we have pipeline vandalization and so on and so forth. If we really use GIS, we can monitor that, and the cause of that vandalization and the consequence of that to the nation will be removed. Now, GIS has done a lot of things right for us, and by making data to be able to be integrated is also a great thing that GIS has done. And now you don't need to, the cloud-based environment that GIS has provided is also one good thing that I think should be appreciated.
Fantastic. As we wind down this time together, Biyi, I actually have a two-part question. There's a question that we've asked all of our guests, and that is, as they think about things that they thought were going to happen in 2024 and maybe made a mental bingo card of what was most likely to happen in the year, what happened that was not at all on your bingo card? Can you share with that?
Yeah, for me, I think almost all that I planned for in 2024 or I was able to implement them, except some that are beyond my capacity. For example, you can have a plan, and when the resources to implement that plan is not available. We did establishment survey, and we have a result, and I wanted to have that establishment result being mapped so that I can just open a Nigeria map and I see the location of all the establishments in Nigeria by different categories, and the population be able to also make that map accessible to wider users all over the world. And people can just use that to locate any business that they are looking for. But I was unable to do that because of the not release of the fund for the activities. But I think it's a general issue among leadership departments and agencies in Nigeria, and that's the only thing that I think of.
That indeed would have been a great service. So perhaps one of the young people that you have been training will take on your vision, and maybe that will be part of the legacy.
I would say yes.
Thank you so much. It has been fascinating to hear from you. I am a fan of the work that you've done at NBS, and I know you are leaving big shoes to be filled. It's probably going to take 5 or 10 people who are going to have to step in to continue the work that you've done at NBS. Thank you so much for sharing time with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for saying yes to sharing your journey. Congratulations on your retirement as well. I think your work is very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to learn more about North Star of GIS, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at GIS North Star.
We want to thank our sponsors of the 2024 Homecoming event, our institutional partner Regrid, and our sponsors New Light Technology, Afrotech, and Black at Work. We'd like to thank our keynotes, Tara Roberts, Linda Harris, Dr. Paulette Hines-Brown, and Vernice Miller-Travis. We'd like to thank Howard University and the staff at the Interdisciplinary Building and Photography by Imagery by Chioma. We also want to thank our guests for trusting us with their stories. Tara, Linda, Paulette, Christian, Abraham, Jason, Vernice, Stella, Biyi, Karen, Nikki, George, Frank, Labdi, Toussaint, Victoria, and the HBCU Environmental Justice Technical Team. And finally, thank you to the North Star team and our wonderful volunteers.
We are your hosts of the Season 2 of the North Star GIS podcast, which is based on the 2024 Homecoming Conference event.
Thanks for listening to the North Star Gaze, intimate stories from geoluminaries. If you're inspired to advance racial justice in geo fields, please share this podcast with other listeners in your community. The intro and outro are produced by Organized Sound Productions with original music created by Kid Bodega. The North Star Gaze is produced in large part by donations and sponsorship. To learn more about North Star of GIS, check us out at northstarofgis.org and on Facebook or Instagram at GIS North Star. If you'd like to support this podcast and North Star of GIS, consider donating at northstarofgis.org/donate. Or to sponsor this podcast, email podcast@northstarofgis.org. You've been listening to the North Star Gaze.